flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Madam Clerk, could you please take a roll call?
Tonight's roll call. Verhey is excused. Monaco is currently absent. We're expecting her. Hornseth?
Present.
Staggs?
Present.
Ullman?
Present.
Charbonneau?
Here.
And Chair Sullivan.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, well, it doesn't look like we have any. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody for citizens' comments at all?
No, ma'am, we have no one.
Okay, well then we'll continue to move on to that. I'd like to have the approval of the agenda and consent agenda, and I need a motion and a second, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda.
I'll make a second.
Okay. Any changes to the agenda? Are we good? Yeah. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call for the agenda?
Voting on the approval of tonight's agenda and consent agenda. Charbonneau?
Yes.
Hornseth?
Yes.
Staggs?
Yes.
Ullman?
Yes.
And Chair Sullivan.
Yes.
Your agenda and consent agenda are approved, and approved on tonight's consent agenda are the January 9th, 2023 joint special meeting with City Council minutes, and you've approved the January 10th, 2023 regular meeting minutes.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to special orders, presentations, and reports, and it looks like we don't have any orders, special orders, presentations, and reports, nor any proclamations or any awards. So next we'll move on to the City Administration report, and I'll turn it over to Community Development Director Jason Bickley.
Yeah, I actually don't have really anything significant out of the ordinary to report this evening.
Okay, all right. Okay, then we'll move on to, this will be a fast meeting. We're going to move on to public hearings. Do we have anybody signed in for public hearings?
We need to put the resolution on the floor, please.
Okay, all right. Then the first public hearing item is Resolution 2023-004. Madam Clerk, would you read the title into the record?
Resolution 2023-004 is to review the comprehensive plan in a public hearing and begin gathering public input for future updates.
Okay. Well, we'll go through the motions literally. I need a motion and a second, please.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2023-004.
Second that.
Okay. Administration, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to introduce this, just kind of with a little bit of background. We had a really good discussion with council at the special meeting with boards and commissions. And one of the topics that was discussed was the comprehensive plan and kind of making it so it's actually like a living, useful document that, because it is supposed to be kind of like the heart and soul, kind of the mission vision for our community. And really the community values. And, you know, I know for us, every resolution that we put forward or every ordinance, it's like we have to reference the comprehensive plan document on there, saying that this is in support of what that document says. And so, in the packet, we do have our 2030 comprehensive plan, which was adopted in 2017. And this document is supposed to be kind of for the guiding years of like basically the decade of 2020 to 2030, more or less. And I was actually looking today, and the one that was previous to this one was the 2020 comp plan, and that went from roughly 2010 to 2020, and that was adopted in 2005. And the code is a little bit vague, and it just says that we need to have at least one public hearing for this document, but I feel like that this is a little bit vague and doesn't really is not helpful or prescriptive enough for kind of maintaining this document properly. And to my understanding, I know that in the past history, we have not been doing what the code says of having a public hearing and doing kind of a process around that. So anyway, there's not a lot of there's not past practice to follow, and the code is not I think not helpful either. So but anyway, part of this of introducing this as a public hearing tonight is that we want to make this a living and usable document just because that was one of the requests that council had for us. And it is an important document. And so I kind of, we have a lay down for you tonight that was put out there late, or a little bit after the packet. But really, I think before we just start digging into this document, I would like for you guys, and just get some feedback from you guys on how we can establish a process that will be ongoing and kind of perpetuity, and how we can maintain this document and keep it up to date and not kind of have to do this heavy lift every 10 years. And those heavy lifts I know are not cheap when we outsource a document like this to be done. So yeah, really tonight just it's just to open the discussion, to kind of develop a good process and maybe just kind of the next best steps on where you guys feel how you'd like to go about looking at this document. And really too, that there's not, I don't feel like there is an urgency, but it's not like a timely urgency. We do need to get on this and work on this, but I do think I feel like if we can do this document justice over the next year, I feel like that's good as we're looking at kind of the mid-cycle of the 2025 for this document. So, but yeah, at the top of my laydown, I just kind of have two questions that we need to kind of like look at answering. That's like, how do we make this more of a living document? How do we increase community stakeholder ownership? And just, it would be helpful to get feedback from you on developing kind of specific processes and timelines for the document needs. So.
First, what I'd like to Brenda, I don't know if I have to say it, does anybody signed in for public comment
Yeah.
first? So
Yes.
do we have anybody anywhere signed in?
No, we don't.
Okay, and what I'll do is I'll move it on to the commissioners to respond. My understanding is, as code is written right now, you have one public hearing and then we can send it over to the council, but given what I have read in here and the updates that different people have submitted to your office, I think it would be beneficial, consistent with your timeline, is to have, or inconsistent with your laydown, is to have a timeline, work sessions with and a timeline, and then come to an agreement amongst all the stakeholders, so to speak, and then once we're good, have a final meeting, and then punt it up to the city council to have that review. What I like, as you have here, is looking at the updates, which I think is a good thing, because I think what will happen is with the annual update, it will allow us to, as you said, make it a living document so you don't have to do that heavy lift, and then you may not have to utilize excessive external resources that's going to cost the city a ton of money to get it done. Commissioners, does anybody have any thoughts?
No, I agree. It'd be great to look through this once a year, have a work session, get everybody's input on the most dynamic portions of it, and then a 5 and a 10 with the areas that don't need to be updated quite as often. So I think this laydown is fantastic. I think it'll work well.
Okay. Brennan, anything?
Yeah, I was wondering about, in regard to the maps and other things that get out of date in the document, if it's possible to actually remove them from the document per se and like link them to current ones versus having to always just import them. I don't know, I'm just trying to save effort and try to keep it like, I mean, that's more of a living document, like literally that way. So, I mean, that's just one thought I had on that.
Yeah, and that would be a good possibility, because the maps that we have, with the exception of like the future land use map, but like the zoning map, you guys have already, whenever you make an update, that goes to council and then you guys do approve it. So that's already becomes part of, like, that's through an ordinance, and so it's already adopted, and so we could easily link the zoning map to that as a living piece of that, so it's always updated in real time. Yep.
With that in mind, because I know there's a lot of people that are paper-driven, what you could do is maybe put the map that you have most current there at the time, and then always have a caveat at the bottom for the most recent updates. See, the link to that, so it would be helpful.
Ceiling for most recent.
Most recent. You have anything?
I agree with Nathaniel. I mean, it's nice to see how we're going to go through it each year.
Yeah.
It gives them a chance to report it on.
And Sean, do you have any?
No, nothing to add.
I know
No.
you're just back.
Yeah, no.
Welcome
Looks
back.
good. Yeah.
Okay. Administration, do you have anything else to add, given what we've got so far with your input?
No, I mean, I think as long as you guys are okay with kind of maybe just approaching it with that big picture format, but we could, and this, because this has not been, so this is basically has not been touched for 6 years.
Right.
And so I think it would be good for us to kind of do maybe just like a total overview of it. Even I think there's maybe some like culture pieces in here or some 10-year plan pieces that we might need to look at a little bit as well, the 5-year. But however, like we could do, however you guys would want to go through it, like we could just kind of do like the housekeeping first and do some work sessions on kind of the basic housekeeping cleanup and then dig into other pieces. However you guys want to do that would be great, and then we can just go ahead and you guys can, we could kind of tentatively schedule work sessions out on kind of however you guys want to approach those items, and then just let us know if there's things that we can gather for you in the meantime to help support.
I think that'd be good, because we will probably get continual, you know, we have received email input on that, and we can have that addressed. But I think also, too, by having the housekeeping parts that are bringing it to current will preclude people saying, well, that's wrong, you know, and we have to change that. So if that's tidied up first, then we can focus on the items that are the most current and that we want to look at, as opposed to getting, you know, mired up into, you know, old stuff that is just historical.
Okay.
Yeah. When I read through this, there was a lot of stuff that just
We know it's done.
completed.
Yeah, it's done,
And
and
so
so
if we
we-
get rid of all of that, then we can.
I think that would
Get on
be,
to
we'd
it.
start a good base document to launch from.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. I have a question, though, on this, because, and maybe I'm just confused on the numbers, because we have a 5-year update and a 10-year update. Is that, like, we'll still do the annual ones, but we'll have a 5-year, and that's just for the short-term things, and then the 10-year is the longer term, or how does that tie together?
Well, kind of, and it can tie together how you guys would like, but I do think like if the stuff that we're reviewing every year would be like kind of like if we, because the Muni Land Plan would be adopted in every year.
Right.
The zoning map changes, we will be updating utility maps every year, like if we add some new like fire hydrants, that kind of thing. Those could be easy annual adoptions, basic housekeeping. But then the 5-year items that I just listed, and there could be other ways of producing this or looking at it, but we do have like things like photography. We could discuss like the future land use map, major projects, and also include that piece in this update as well. And really like it'd be, and the only like one thing that I did mention, I did not mention in my comments, but you know, my suggestion was that we do community values on kind of like a 10-year update. But I really think because of the pandemic, I feel like the world has changed a lot over the last like 4 to 5 years, and I really think it might be good too to just to kind of take a look at, is there anything in our values of like, do we value something differently, or has it kind of have the priority? I think we always have certain values, but I think have some of the priorities changed or swap places with each other. And so that may be kind of like a suggested 10-year update that we might want to kind of take on too, just because the world has changed quite a bit since we last did this in 2017.
True, and I think also the, some of the areas that we were talking about, what the effects on certain parts of our community are a result of the pandemic itself. The economic, what has happened, some of the schools, what has happened through those, and a variety of other things that I think that, you know, I don't like to belabor it too much, but there might be a good summary paragraph, maybe in each one of the chapters, and said this is the overwhelming, or maybe not the overwhelming, but a significant impact to this plan because of the 3 years or how many years of that, you know, people were, you know, affected by this. And because for the longest time, we're just going along with tourism and building and this, that, and the other thing, but we went to a screeching halt with the pandemic, and then we had an infusion, a lot of infusion of money in a lot of areas, and a lot of people were just simply not working because they were getting money or however it was, and then the businesses were significantly affected as a result. So that affects the economic portion of it too. And I don't know if that's something that's doable, but it, somebody smarter than I
Yep.
could probably look at that.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty easy to draft some language into those
Yeah.
places, and then with community input, we could kind of add that into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good, thank you. All righty. Commissioners, anything else to offer?
No,
No?
that's good.
Okay. Madam Clerk, can we call for the vote?
Voting on the approval of Resolution 2023-004. Charbonneau,
Yes.
Holman,
Yes.
Staggs,
Yes.
Hornseth,
Yes.
and Chair Sullivan.
Yes.
That resolution is approved.
Okay, we're going to move on to unfinished business, but we have none. And then we'll move into new business, which is just one resolution that we have, and that's 2023-005. Madam Clerk, could you read that into the record, please?
Resolution 2023-005 is recommending City Council approval of the Planning and Zoning Commission priorities for January 2023 to January 2024.
Okay, I'll need a motion and a second, please.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-005.
I'll second
that.
All right, administration, do you have any comments?
Yeah, just a few is that basically what I did is we took kind of what we had for our 2022 priorities last year that council approved, and just kind of using the feedback from the city council special meeting with commissions, kind of along with the work we know we did last year. We just drafted these priorities and for this next year, and so basically there's the ongoing priorities are kind of encapsulating like everything that what we do or what we've kind of been in charge of, but then the short-term specific priorities are kind of some, I guess, highlights that are included in those ongoing ones. Just in regards to continue to look at the housing issues and using like the documents and the tools that you have to address those housing issues as you can. It was recommended at that meeting that that administration kind of revise some language just concerning some qualifications and attendance for commissioners, and we're going to be working on that. And then also to the specific of like the 2030 comprehensive plan review and update to make that a living document. So those are some specific priorities that are covered under the ongoing priorities, but those are just kind of highlighting them then. And so we would, anything that you guys would like to modify or add or change the format or anything, we are open to, because these are this is your document. So
I do have one question, if you're okay. What we have is, as we're going along, how do we, if we have to change the priorities, do we have to get it cleared through council first to do that? If, this is just playing devil's advocate. If something else happens, like another pandemic or something else happens and we have to shift gears or something, switching our priorities, do we have to go to, or how do we, I don't know.
I would think that because you guys do work for council, you probably would need to get those approved. Just because I think you look at it like this, you're going to your boss and saying, hey, look, my job looks like it's changed. I just want to make sure that you know that it's changed. And can we get permission to actually take on these activities because we feel like we're going in that direction? So I do think because commissions do work for council, that would be an appropriate action if midstream things changed.
Yeah, and that was my concern, if we
Yeah.
had to do something like that, good, okay.
Yep.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions?
No, I think it's pretty good. I like how it's segmented, and we have our short-term, long-term. We got stuff, items that we're continuously working on. It's nice to keep those on, and then items that we want to knock out sooner than later.
Yeah, it's a good bullet list too, a checklist for us, because we can get mired in one thing and forget some of the others. So I think it actually keeps us focused, which is good for us.
I agree.
Everybody good? Okay. All right. With that, Madam Clerk, can we call for a vote?
Voting on the approval of Resolution 2023-005. Hornseth,
Yes.
Staggs,
Yes.
Bowman,
Yes.
Charbonneau,
Yes.
Chair Sullivan.
Yes.
That resolution is approved.
Okay. We'll now move on to other new business items. And during the consent agenda, the first two items were already approved. So we have one last item for business tonight, is to discuss a topic for the February 21st work session. Does commissioners have any ideas? Do you want to launch on this? Starting looking at the housekeeping, or any suggestions?
Yeah, there's some, does administration have something that we really,
We did get, from last year's items, we did kind of talk about a few things that we did want to kind of help clean up as far as things related to housing. So we could just, we could start tackling some of the items on that list. And I do know that we did get a request from the mayor to look at awnings and down in like anywhere where there's kind of like a storefront, specifically. I think that she was specifically talking about just kind of our traditional downtown 4th Avenue area, but because she went and there's an issue of snow removal. There's also an issue of that we sometimes have inclement weather in Seward that comes in different forms of precipitation. But our current code does not allow for awnings. People that have awnings or building or structures that come over have been like things that were built previously to the code coming in. And so she talked to the Public Works Director, Doug Schussler, and he was like, I would love awnings because it helps keep our sidewalks clear. He said it protects our sidewalks and makes them last longer. And it also creates kind of a better shopping experience for people if it is raining. And so she said that that's something that sometime in the next year before maybe like this summer that she would like us to discuss and talk about. And it does tie in with signage a little bit because if you guys do feel like awnings would be appropriate to kind of introduce and allow buildings down there, we don't want this to be like we want them to be appropriate so they don't like ruin the feel of the downtown area. So that there would be some signage discussions in that as well. But I just wanted to put forward that request and then the opportunity to, if you guys would like to also dig into any of the kind of some of the housing issues of like, one of them for instance was like bunkhouse dorm issues and definitions and that was one of them. There's some land use, property use issues, but it's up to you guys what you would like to tackle first.
well, those sound great. I'd like to make sure, can we put two things on, just in case one happens quickly? I'd hate to leave early and not be able to speak about something because it's not on the list.
Yep.
So we can use our full time.
Yep. Yep.
And those seem to be a little bit more immediate in terms of knocking that stuff out before the next season if possible, to be able to support that. The comprehensive plan obviously is something we have to do, but it's, I think we can fit that in varied work sessions at a different time so we can go forward.
One, as I'm thinking about it, as you're saying that, what we could do is we could look at taking like on some of these issues like Title 15, code things on it, and then maybe like the next work session, look at maybe digging into the comprehensive plan a little bit, and that way we're kind of making gains on both at the same time, if you guys would be open to that.
Some of it might actually parallel if we're doing it at certain times too, so we could actually look at that area of the comp plan if there's something relative to what we're, the more concrete stuff that we were looking at. Yeah,
Sounds great.
yeah.
Okay.
Commissioners, you all good with that?
I will regrettably be absent from this next meeting.
That's okay.
I will send along comments.
Okay.
And I just want to make note too that we will be bringing back the lot frontage code language to you on the 21st as well to look over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anything else? No? Okay, we'll move on to informational items and reports, which segues pretty well with what Courtney was saying, that we'll have on February 21st, we'll have a regular planning and zoning work session at 6 at the city councils, and then March 7th will be the regular meeting at 7 o'clock here again, unless it gets moved elsewhere.
And,
So-
Madam Chair, I do want to make a note that at that regular March 7th meeting, we will be bringing back your
Oh, yeah.
Muni land plan recommendations to you in regards to the 4th of July Beach and Spring Creek recommendations. So we did talk with the harbor master, and we're getting those up there so that you guys can basically approve those, and then we can pass them on to council.
Council, good.
Yep.
And I noticed one other thing here, there's also, I guess we have, on the March 7th meeting, we also have elections again for the chair and the vice chair. So it looks like we got that down there.
Yep.
I think. By then, we'll have, because I know we're having a couple of commissioners expiring, term is expiring.
Correct.
And, you know, but by that time, do they get sworn in before that? So we'll...
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they get approved by council at the second meeting in February. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, good, so we'll be good to go
Yeah,
before
yes,
that? Okay.
yes.
I just don't want to get back to where we were before we had 2 commissioners down and then it was tight.
Right,
Because we
right.
didn't have anybody in them,
Right.
so, okay. Does anybody have any questions? Anything else to offer? No? Okay. Chief Nichol, do you have anything to offer? Okay. And, all right, well, we're down to the next one here is board and administration comments in response to any citizens' comments. Well, we didn't have any citizens' comments, just comments from the board. Does anybody have anything? Well, okay. Jason, Courtney, anything?
Yeah, no, thanks for all your work at the work session, the last work session we had, and I feel like we are making some good headway with these items that have been on our list for a while, so I'm excited to get some things done.
Yep, and I concur with that, and I'm also looking forward to digging into the comp plan and getting this kind of up to speed. And I do appreciate Ms. Griswold's comments and kind of some of the things that she's provided, so I do appreciate the time and effort that she does put into those, and there's some good feedback in there.
Yeah, and I would concur with that, considering the fact that she's provided a history on a lot of stuff too, that helps us to make some decisions on what we've got going. It's always good to know the background before you launch off onto a direction on something. So she's a great advisor, and she keeps us honest, on our toes too. So, and I really appreciate you guys and the clerk's office for all the help that you guys do, because it's you have your daily jobs and then you have to do the heavy lift, you know, dealing with us. So anyway, with that, if we have nothing else, then I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 7:27. Speed meeting.